So, do you know these Nazis?
No.
Did you invite them?
No.
Do you like them?
No. Who likes Nazis?
Do you agree with anything that they have to say?
I have no idea what they have to say, but what they have to say about anything related to actual Nazism, nobody agrees. No right-minded, decent human, including myself, agrees with any of it.
I'm Yemini for Rebel News outside the Parliament of Victoria, where over the weekend a group gathered here led by a UK activist, Kellie-Jay, to protest for women's rights. Now, this rally was hijacked by two extremist groups. On one side, you had the self-proclaimed anti-fascists, and on the other side, it was gate-crashed by about 20 well-known neo-Nazis. What was the protest first about on Saturday?
Well, we organise women's events so they can come and speak in the real public square because we're being cancelled on social media. So it's literally about women talking about how they've been cancelled, children's safeguarding, normal women's rights stuff, looking after women. That's it.
Now, obviously, that has not been the focus in the last 48 hours or so. Tell us what happened.
Well, what happened is some women gave these incredible speeches and nobody's bothered to actually cover them at all. And there were trans activists. We were really afraid because there were people infiltrating the crowd. And then unbeknownst to us, we thought Antifa, Black Bloc, was on another side until we saw a Nazi salute. But it's just incredible that nobody's talking about the women and what the women were saying and the women's concerns. And I think there's something really fishy going on. I can't quite put my finger on it.
So at what point did you notice there were Nazis here?
A woman was speaking. I think somebody might have just assaulted one of the women. So we were on really high alert. And a woman was speaking, and I looked across, and those men were doing the Nazi salute. That's the first time at which I realised that what we were dealing with was Nazis.
Did anyone condemn them, and why didn't they?
I'm not being distracted by a group of men when we're talking about women's rights. I refuse to let those men set my agenda. I'm really quite irritated that after women poured out their hearts and souls, that this is the thing that I'm having to talk about because those men have successfully co-opted that talk yesterday.
And the reaction from the political class and the mainstream media have been as predictable as ever, both trying their hardest to link the neo-Nazis to the women's rights activists, with the Liberal Party now planning to expel one of their members simply for attending. And guess what? In that entire time, neither the Liberal Party boss or the mainstream media have even spoken to the women involved. And that's what we're here today to do, to tell you the other side of the story. So here they say, but yes, anti-trans activists gathered to spread hate, and on the steps of our parliament, some of them performed Nazi salutes. So here you have the Premier tying you by saying that they were with you. Were the Nazis, were they with you?
Absolutely not. And I think actually what these men wanted to do is they knew that there was going to be sort of a press interest, and they used it as an opportunity to talk right over us. If anybody was with me at all, they wouldn't want to overshadow what women were saying.
John Pesutto, who's the head of the Liberal Party, who's trying to expel now one of their members for simply attending your rally, he's claiming there's no way you guys wouldn't have known that they were coming, because Thomas Sewell, the guy leading the Nazis, posted that he was there in support of you guys. What would you respond to that?
I think it's absolutely ridiculous that women speaking about our rights have to defend ourselves against really violent, aggressive men. The TRAs, I definitely knew the TRAs were coming, who threatened us with violence, and the police had been warned about numerous threats, but why would I be anything to do with these men? They don't stand for women's rights. They don't like me very much as far as I'm concerned. And I certainly don't like them.
Well, they say they actually have a problem with you. Their official news site labelled you as a radical feminist atheist. How do you respond to that?
Well, I might be radical, but I'm not a feminist, but I'm definitely an atheist. I'm what you call a gold star atheist, which means I've never believed in God.
But do your fans usually call you such names?
No, nobody cares. We're all us women are right across the spectrum. Obviously Moira Deeming and I, we probably disagree on some things, but I totally support her right as a woman to speak in the public square. This is 2023. This is not pre-suffragette kind of times.
Why do you think that the whole story has become around the idea and conflating and trying their hardest, both the political class and the media, trying their hardest to link you and the Nazis?
The time I'm told, the time at which those men went across and gave a Nazi salute to trans activists and the police let them through, which is bizarre in itself. We had somebody who had been kicked out of the Green Party talking about the paedophile apologists in the Green Party. Like, that was right at that time. Coincidence? I have no idea. But I think there's some pretty nasty people that don't want women to talk about our rights and child safeguarding.
So here you have Josh Burns, another Labor MP, a federal MP this time, who says that the ugly alliance between anti-trans bullies and neo-Nazis on display in the city today was extremely confronting. Again, we see them tying you to them. What's your reactions to Josh Burns?
Well, calling women like myself anti-trans bullies, like bully is a specific term, which means that I have power, and I don't have power over men who's 6'2" in my changing room, and I don't want them in there with my daughter, and they can call me all the names they like, and Josh is willing to phone into my Turf Talk Tuesday on any day of the week. I'll open the phone lines, and he can talk to me about his concerns, but women have to be able to speak in the public square, and these silencing names and tactics are not going to work. Like, we are awake to the misogyny of the trans activist movement and all those that defend it.
Imagine that. If you actually listen to the women, let the women speak, you find out that all the accusations are based on complete fabrications, complete lies. And the people pushing those lies, people like Josh Burns and Daniel Andrews, when they went out of their way to support the Ukrainian government in their fight against Russia, at no point did those same people, Josh Burns or Daniel Andrews, at no point did they expect the Ukrainian government to condemn the Nazis within their ranks, the Nazis that they invited and they made officially part of the National Guard. Now, you can say that Ukraine doesn't have to condemn them. Fine, that's your opinion. I personally think that they should. I think they should expel Nazis, and it should never make up an official part of any armed forces. But there it's known, and there's no word from Josh Burns or Daniel Andrews. In this case, you have a group of women who tried to hold their own event and didn't want the sideshow to become the main news, to become the story. They wanted to let the women speak, and they're being condemned for a group of men that had nothing to do with them, men that they do not agree with. It does seem like there's a lot of male, powerful people in this state that are condemning little you.
I know. I didn't realise I was quite so powerful until I came to Australia. But I think the fear of these men is that women are going to wake up and we're going to start saying no, and it's going to be more and more. And I think the time to, if you're a politician in Australia, the time to switch is now. Because if you just join a bandwagon where everybody pretends that they never stood against women, it's going to be too late. If you want leadership roles, the time to lead is now.
So again, back to John Pizzuto, who's planning to essentially expel Moira from the Liberal Party for attending here. He concedes today that she may not have known that the Nazis were actually going to come here to hijack it. But he says that the reason why he's going forward, pushing forward with cancelling her, is because of her association to you and your association to Nazis that he named were Mark Corlett and David Duke. What would your reaction be to that?
I have no association with either of those men whatsoever. I've never met them, never talked to them. I don't think they've ever talked about me. I've never talked about them. There's no association whatsoever. And this is what happens if you're supposed to be a serious politician and you just read Wikipedia and you don't look for your own evidence. And that's essentially what he's done. I mean, how ridiculous.
Do you think he now should withdraw his application to expel her?
Absolutely. I mean, look, I don't believe in guilt by association. I think if you live by that rule, you will die by it. I think it's a ridiculous thing to do, and it's not what grown-ups should be doing anyway. But yeah, of course he should take it back. Moira's a really brave politician. In 2023, she's one of the few that will stand up for the safeguarding of children.
If John Pesutto, who's a conservative, he leads the opposition in this state, and it turns out that this weekend it's just another example how we don't have an opposition. Both sides are spewing the same nonsense. But if the leader of the so-called opposition, who's planning on expelling Moira today because he, based on the lie that you're associated to neo-Nazis that he named, what would you say to him?
I'd say, I hope you have a good lawyer, because I think libel and defamation laws are pretty robust in Australia. So it's a shameful thing to do. And Moira's standing up for the safeguarding of children. You're supposed to be conservatives, for God's sake. Just preposterous.
Just because this group of scum men came here and said themselves that they support these women, or at least what these women are fighting for, it doesn't mean anything. They just wanted your attention, and the media and the politicians of our state, they gave them what they want. Yemini for Rebel News in Melbourne, Australia. If you think it's important to let women speak and not allow men like Josh Burns, Daniel Andrews, and even John Pesutto to give them the chance to silence women, then make sure to like, comment, but most importantly, share this story far and wide, because as you can see, the mainstream media are not willing to tell the truth here. And make sure then to head over to followavi.com, sign up to our mailing list, and follow me across all platforms just in case they possibly ban us for even telling this story on the platform you're watching this on right now. Share the truth and follow us, followavi.com.